There was a strange sense, as if something was between the lines of the pentagrams that I drew. There was a set of square stairs going up in different levels all around, much in the way that some basalt stairways have naturally formed, but these were more just plain squares. A rich green flowed down them, and I could not tell where the bottom of such was. I felt weightless upon the ground. There was a gray encircling, and this encircled the temple counterclockwise. And it seemed to separate the temple from the rest of existence. I saw flat, colorful shapes, and these were kind of like oil on water in the sunlight. During the final reading, I felt buzzy, moving. And as I scried following that, pouring down me was analgesic euphoria 3 times. But it didn't move so fast. It kind of stuck in my head to chest area at first. Sometimes as you progress along the path, you feel like you're not sure you want to go to the next station. And certainly, as you become adept at each station, or maybe you don't, and that's why you feel this way. But you just need to keep progressing on. With the 8th chapter, we are reminded that utopia isn't all it's cracked up to be. There's still foolish motivations. There's still temptation. Ahead lies the Universal Library. And with the Mercurial, there will be different schools of thought. We need to regard what merged into those schools, what divided from those schools, and how to be distinct from those schools, perhaps working with the same things. Chapter 8 indicated that perhaps morals and ethics are not quite what we might think they are. Chapter 9 takes it to the point that you can't argue I'm an insider versus I'm an outsider when in the court of the other. In theory, you can put them together, but this book doesn't get that high in the spheres to get to the Hermit card, now do we? You can find sympathy with those who are different, and that doesn't mean that you need to take part in or associate with certain types too. Don't worry about being seen as, oh, I just don't, support that aspect of their life, right? You don't have to joke with people about these sorts of things. But in chapter 9, we indicate how far we've gotten so far in terms of the tarot cards. On the way to the moon, you have the universe, and then you have the sun, and the judgment. Well, the judgment comes before the sun in the sequence, and then you have the moon, and the star, and the tower, and the devil, and art, and death, and the hanged man. We're not really that far, but that's where you can see from Mercury. Chapter 9 reminds us that as we were previously tested with water, we are again going to be tested with fire. If you're ever called to battle and all that, it's important to have a sense of what you're going to say in those stressful moments, or perhaps some other time where death might be possible. And of course, along the way, he's been tested and analyzed, by people of different sorts. We might not always have the sense of identity that people can understand, and sometimes they will hold that against us. And sometimes the angle of perception or going about certain things in the objective sense changes. And some things that are going to be difficulties, perhaps are only difficulties because they are focused on, and they can actually be bypassed. Chapter 11 gets us into the challenge of the state that violates the rights of people because of some convinced good that needs to be taken part in. How they control the information to the point where you think that stuff that you're sure existed doesn't exist, that you must have imagined it. It must have, because they've just deleted the reference. I myself have seen how news agencies will take things away from sale. I never bought them, but they used to resell tapes of stuff from the news, particularly the little documentaries that CNN and whatnot used to do. But they pulled things to fit in with certain political narratives, and how there's evidence of some stuff right now related to presidential debates and stuff, that the video evidence is there and they're acting like it's not real. That, and it's like, it's pretty easy to find that stuff. Political correctness to the point where identities are, that you don't want to cause offense by, like, ooh, that's white. It's like, but you're not even talking about a person. So, so they use the non-America, non-white house. And I think may have brought this up, about the seventh ray issues. Sometimes we're forced to take part in silly questionings that normally we shouldn't, like these false dilemmas where you're going to do something wrong, and which would you rather not do, or which would you do of these bad choices? That's probably not the best game for them to play at school and stuff, but sometimes you have to. I do not believe that crime is a thing of minorities or economically downtrodden individuals. I believe it's a thing of programming and mentality in accepting certain things. Certainly when we compare some parts of the world that have been impoverished, usually by being robbed by corporations and colonialism and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't believe that that's the thing. And I don't believe that if you set up a very strong fantasy world, things will decrease. Actually, they seem to be increasing as the video games and all that become so real almost, and you can hook up devices to sense things, and sometimes it's part of the gaming system or whatever. So hiring people to, live the life so they can have, so they can follow the readings and stuff to make it feel like you're engaging in all sorts of debauchery. I think people snap out of that and go off and do things that they might have otherwise never done. Some associative thoughts happen with this book because this book in itself is sort of a path working. And I honestly think Runyon should go and return to this book. I've probably talked about it before. Ahab. Yeah, they probably should have used two names in the illustration. But you got the sun and the moon, and sort of the man and wife, the drops coming down, another set of sun and moon symbols, magical tools, a feast. Well, I guess that's the picture. Snake with Enochian letters.